Um, Welcome to Community Engagement with Burhan Ahmed, Carl Edelstein. Welcome our broadcast. And I want to make sure, Senate, you're running 10 district court bill. Can you explain who is actually Carl Edelstein is? Can you talk about who you are?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been wonderful getting to know you over the course of this campaign, and I'm grateful to be able to talk to folks through your program. So thank you. I'm Carly Edelstein. I'm running for the 10th District Court of Appeals in Franklin County, and I hope to get to explain to all of you what the 10th District is a little bit further on in the program. But I started off my career as a teacher. I taught 6th graders English and history, and absolutely loved teaching my kiddos. But this was a school where almost all of the kids qualified for free or reduced cost lunch, where their parents were working multiple jobs just to put food on the table. And my kids didn't have access to a library at their school. And I felt powerless to address all of these systemic issues impacting their lives. And so I went to law school because lawyers have a lot of power. And I wanted to leverage and use all of that power to create change for my students and for kids like them and for communities like the one I was teaching in. And I've been doing that ever since, whether it was working down in Mississippi, fighting to reopen a historically Black elementary school that had been closed for discriminatory reasons, fighting in Los Angeles to make sure that kids for whom English was a second language had access to services in schools, working for the Federal Court of Appeals that covers Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee, making sure our Constitution and our laws were being interpreted in ways that didn't violate people's rights. From there, I went to the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, where I was working to enforce our nation's anti-discrimination laws in schools in Michigan and Ohio, making sure kids could learn free from discrimination on the basis of race, sex, and disability. Came to Equitas Health here in Columbus, which is a healthcare organization that serves members of the LGBT community and people living with AIDS, HIV. I was providing free legal services to people who needed the help. And now I'm a public defender. I'm an appellate public defender at the state public defender's office. So that means every day I get to represent some of the people who are most marginalized by our systems, people who have been convicted of crimes and can't afford a lawyer. I do that in the courts of appeals throughout the state and in the Ohio Supreme Court. And I feel very privileged in doing that. I am a mother of 2 little girls, a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old. And our family lives in Worthington, and we have made our home here in Franklin County. So thank you.
Thank you, Carl Edelstein. Really, it's touching when you talk about, denied children equal education opportunities, especially those who marginalized communities. As you know, Franklin County is the highest county that has a lot of new immigrants, child born when it comes to birth, and has a lot of lack of resources and opportunities. And I'm glad you really was part of the champion for helping for those who doesn't have legal access, and also work in the office of civil rights, which is great. So going back to that question is the 10th district. Can you talk about the 10th district? What is that exactly? 10th district of bill.
Sure. I'll kind of lay the land a little bit for what the court system looks like in Ohio, and then situate the 10th district in that. So there are obviously 88 counties in the state of Ohio. Each of those counties has trial courts that feed into a court of appeals. So for example, Franklin County has a municipal court. They deal with low-level criminal offenses and lower amounts of harm in civil cases. We have a common pleas court, which is also a trial court that deals with high-level cases, criminal cases like felonies, and higher amounts of harm in civil cases. We also have administrative agencies because the state capital is here in Franklin County. So all of those bodies, and there's another court called the Court of Claims that deals with some other kinds of cases. All of those bodies resolve cases between parties. And at the end of that case, someone is happy and someone isn't happy. The party that isn't happy has the right to file an appeal.
Mhm.
And that appeal goes almost all the time. There are a few rare exceptions, but almost every single appeal goes to the 10th District Court of Appeals from all of those different bodies in Franklin County. So this is an incredibly important court because it is dealing with cases, criminal cases, civil cases that deal with a lot of harm that people have experienced. It's dealing with the appeals out of administrative agencies like the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. And what's really also important to understand is that the Supreme Court of Ohio is the highest court in the state, but they only take a few cases a year. They don't take every single case that people ask them to take. So what happens is once a case is resolved by the 10th District Court of Appeals, that's generally the last word for that case. It is very unlikely, because of the number of cases the Ohio Supreme Court accepts, it's very unlikely they're going to take a case that's been resolved by the 10th District. So if you are a person who has been harmed in Franklin County and you've brought a case against the person who harmed you and you lost and you've appealed it up to the 10th District, it's our court that decides that case. And it's usually the last court to decide the case. So that's why it makes it such a critical court.
That's a very powerful court, rather than going to Supreme Court. Another one of the things we see is, people confused about, the court when they navigate it. It's a lot of challenges, especially when the folks are new. They don't know how to navigate it in the system, and hiring attorneys and all that stuff, But how many judges that 10 Court District Appeal has? How many judges?
There are 8 judges on the 10th District Court of Appeals, and they sit on 3 judge panels. It's a little bit confusing, but at the trial court level, you've got 1 judge. You can have a jury trial or you can have a trial in front of that judge, but it's only 1 judge. When you're on appeal, the Court of Appeals sits as 3 judge panels. So it'll be 3 judges who are deciding the case. And the majority of the judges, either 2 or 3, have to find in favor of one of the parties, and then they write a decision. So there are 8 judges on the court. 4 of those 8 seats are up for election this year. I am running for one of them. And then there are 3 other seats that are up for election this year.
Wow. Yeah, that's very powerful. And as you said, it's a term is a 6-year term, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also, you talk about what the court 10th district does, what they do, especially, the 10th court bill is boundaries in terms of Franklin County, outside Franklin County, or stays of Franklin County.
So it is just Franklin County. There are, like I said before, the 88 counties each have their own courts, their trial courts. And then there are 12 district courts of appeals throughout the state. They are very diverse geographically, but they try to have about the same population. So there's the 1st District Court of Appeals that's in Hamilton County. The 8th District Court of Appeals is just Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is. And the 10th District Court of Appeals is just Franklin County, where we are. The rest of the courts of appeals have lots of counties in them because those are smaller population counties, but bigger geographically. So we are one of the 3 single county district courts of appeals.
And most of the responsibilities of the district court, are they the same district level in terms of the district courts 9 to 10? They all had the same jurisdiction, right? Same service in terms of.
They are, with the exception of the 10th district, because like I said before, because we are in the state capital, there are some extra kinds of cases that come before the 10th district. So the appeals that are out of all of the administrative agencies based here in Columbus are cases that would only go to the 10th district right now. They don't go to the other courts of appeals. And then there's this other court that I said is the court of oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the language, but the other court here is for cases that are brought against the state. The Court of Claims, that's the word.
Yes.
It's late in the evening. And so the Court of Claims is cases, let's say someone was at an OSU hospital and they experienced harm and are suing the doctor, and they're suing OSU, and so that is a state body. Or if they're suing the state of Ohio in some other capacity, that's brought in the Court of Claims. And so those cases also come to the 10th district. So the other courts of appeals are appellate courts, just like the 10th. We just have some extra jurisdiction to resolve some extra cases because it's the state capital.
I see it. The one of the things I notice is a lot of times, focus not knowing how to navigate it when they have multiple issues. But I'm glad something you've been educating the community, especially New American community, really trying to figure out how to navigate a legal system, how to be able to get access when it comes to because a lot of time when I see some judges, they come to the community, they talk about the process, the court system. Are you coming back? If you've been elected, are you come back to the community and talk about the court and way
Yes.
to explain people?
100%, certainly. And that's the approach that I've taken as a public defender. I want to make sure that every single one of my clients, every single one of their family members understands why they're there, what has happened, how the system works. I want them to end their experience, whenever the result is of their case. I want them to walk away from their experience in the criminal legal system, believing that their voice was heard and that justice was done in their case. And I believe that what one of the things that is required in order to achieve that is education, is making sure people understand every step of the way. So that's what I've always strived for in my representation of clients. And that's what I would strive for on the bench as well.
Wow, that's powerful. I see some judges, they do community services, they come to community, like doing some type of pro bono, some type of, although I had about a lot of them, they can't advise the legal, but they able to talk to the community and help them in a way they struggle legally. Because I see a lot of judges are coming out nowadays trying to do come into the neighborhoods and trying to do services and figuring out what the people to do it. So your court allows you to come out and reach out to communities, vulnerable communities that has marginalized, who lacking access in terms of a legal system.
Yeah, certainly. The judges on the court are permitted to go out into the community and provide public education. We can't provide legal services as a lawyer would. So if elected to the bench, I would not be permitted to provide pro bono legal services as a lawyer, but I would certainly try to be in the community, educating as much as possible and helping in ways. So for example, I recently volunteered, the Legal Aid Society of Columbus held an expungement and sealing clinic. And I volunteered as a lawyer at that clinic. There were a number of common pleas and municipal court judges who were there to serve as judges and in the role of judges in doing certain tasks that judges would be permitted to do in that setting. I would love to be present in spaces like that to be able to serve the community in that way. I just can't provide actual legal assistance.
Yes, I hear you. You're somebody really shows us, your bio, your background. You did fantastic, helping people, always defending vulnerable people, always stand up and believe in it. And I know people who are watching see Carla Edelstein, how she came from, in terms of helping public services, still fighting for those who's underserved. We appreciate it. But can you talk about, what you're going to tell New Americans that watching the video will be massively watching people? What do you, especially Franklin County, those who are voting started October 12th, still every day, 8 to 5, willing to help you, volunteer for you, or what you're going to tell the community in terms of you, so as they hear about your passion, you care about them, they connect with you, and they feel you now. So what you're gonna tell the Franklin County, especially communities that listen to you tonight?
Well, I just want to make sure to be out in the community, getting involved and understanding what the issues are on the ground. Certainly as a public defender, I am aware of some of the issues that are impacting the communities around Franklin County and around the state of Ohio. I practice statewide. And so I've seen some of the things that are impacting all of our communities. And I have engaged in those issues, and I've litigated around those issues. Issues like access to medication for people who are suffering from opioid use disorder. Issues like, and I believe this is really important to new Americans, and to folks who have family members who are not yet American citizens, but are striving toward that. I've been doing a lot of work around making sure that people receive effective assistance of counsel, even if they are not citizens. So for example, someone who is involved in the criminal legal system and has charges against them is entitled to get accurate information about the immigration consequences of pleading guilty to an offense. I've been working with folks who are not citizens and making sure that they have all of the information necessary to make decisions about their own cases. But really and truly, what I want to make sure of, if elected, if I am fortunate enough to be elected to this court, is I want to make sure that every single person, and I've said it already and I want to say it again, every single person, even if they don't win their case, because not every single person involved in our legal system wins. It's a two-party system.
Yes.
But every single person should walk away from their case after it's been resolved, believing that justice was done. And I have seen repeatedly my clients, the courts get it right, but I also repeatedly see the courts fail to do justice in those cases. And I want to make sure that the voice of someone who has experience working with clients from diverse communities, from communities that are very much marginalized and unheard and unseen from many of our representatives, that they also have someone on the court who understands the experiences that they've had. So if that is something that the folks who are listening are interested in being involved in, please, please, please reach out to me. My website is carlyforall.com, CARLYFORALL.com. I also would welcome emails and phone calls. I certainly would love volunteer support. I am out at the Board of Election when my baby is not sick almost every day or every day. And so I would love to see folks out there. Even if you're not volunteering for the campaign, come say hello. We love engaging with voters and talking to folks about what they're experiencing.
Thank you, Carlin. As you see, Carlin is somebody who's passionate about the communities, cares about underserved communities in Central Ohio, which is really fantastic. We appreciate your success. We're willing to be one of the judges being elected, and we've supported you 100% for you. What you're doing is amazing because your resume speaks itself, your bio speaks itself. You stand up, you take care about that shows, that you defended underrepresented communities across the board. That's what we need a lot of new Americans face because of they see that, they simulate that cause. We appreciate you for coming tonight and sharing your bios, and we wish you the best success, and then we'll hope to come back and again invite you. Community engagement with Burhan. This podcast is actually designed for educating the community different issues. We invited multiple different people who could be able to access the communities, can help them issues they're facing. But we appreciate you for your leadership, and we're happy to support you. You win that election, and again, thank you. I'm going to make a few announcements while you're here. So those who are watching, we have early voting started October 12th, and 8 to 5 every day until we have November, the end of the November, actually the October 31st, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. November 1st to 4 is 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So make sure that please you go for a county board of election because it's a very important election. It's all about critical. Please make sure you vote Carla. That's Edelstein is really amazing. Somebody who really cares about a lot of issues. We support you 100%. We wish you the best. And we're gonna stop recording.